Hello, students of class 9. Hope all are fine. Today we are going to study chapter 2, the Vedic period. So we have come to the end of this chapter, and in our previous class we had discussed about the religious beliefs, and we have seen that in the Rigvedic period Indra gains more power, isn't it? Then when it comes to the later Vedic period, you can see Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva gain supremacy over Indra and Agni. So, in the sacrifices and rituals, you can see that from the simplicity of nature worship, they started rituals and sacrifices. So, according to the status, yajnas were performed. So, today we are going to study new doctrines. So, in new doctrines, you can see Brahmins will gain more importance here. Okay, so the Brahmins were responsible for bringing about new innovations and evolution in religion. More importance was laid on penance called tapasya, which became ritualistic. Okay, penance means fasting and doing tapasya. So this became one of the important ritualistic. Next is that the new doctrines included the doctrine of karma, dharma and moksha. So here karma means our action. Action means the good things what we perform and the bad things what we perform. So according to the doctrines, it is said that what all the good and bad things we does, it will count in our future birth. Okay, in our next birth. Next is that dharma. Dharma means our duty towards the family and country. Finally, moksha. Moksha means salvation. That is, if we do our karma and dharma properly, then ultimately we will gain moksha. Moksha means release from the cycle of birth and rebirth. Okay, otherwise what will happen if we are not doing our karma and dharma in proper order? Then after our death again we will rebirth. Okay, so this cycle will be going on. So this is the doctrine. So the belief in rebirth, it became very important in this time. Okay, so even Brahmins were said to have divine powers also. Okay, they got divine powers. Next we'll see no ritual or religious celebration would commence without the presence of the Brahmin. So it is said that without the presence of Brahmins, no rituals was successful. Okay. So we have completed religious beliefs. Next we'll go to economy. So in Rigvedic period, you can see the Rigvedic economy was primarily pastoral. That is, when you see the starting of this chapter, you can see that Aryans, they came from Central Asia and they were nomads and they had domesticated animals, isn't it? Especially pastoral. So the here the wealth was gained from the pasture only. Okay, so a wealthy person was called a gomath. Gomath means rich man. Rich man was counted how much cattle he has. Okay, so nowadays maybe how much vehicles we have, on that we can say that, oh, he is a rich man, isn't it? So in those days, the number of cattles, it showed a status, whether he is a rich or middle or poor. So wealthy person was called Gomat. Go means, you all know, go means cow, isn't it? So Gopa and Gopati were epithetics given to the king. So king was called as Gopa and Gopati. Next, in Rig Veda, Goduli is used as a term for measure of time. Then distance is called Gevuti, and a daughter is called Dohetri, or the one who milks the cows. Compared to the linguistic evidence for cattle rearing in the Rig Veda, agricultural activities find very few references. So here regarding agriculture, it is not mentioned much in the Rig Veda. That shows that agriculture was not so prominent. Okay, whereas pastoral was the important economy here. Apart from Yava or barley, no other grains are mentioned. So that shows that agriculture was not so important. Only for their consumption they were growing barley. Okay, that's all. No other grains they were growing. There are reference to fire being used for burning the forest cover and the practice of shifting cultivation. So here people they were practicing shifting cultivation. Shifting means they were burning the fire, burning the forest, and after that they were um, doing the cultivation work there. Okay, so they are not doing any ploughing work and all, just they were sowing the seeds, and when the soil loses its fertility, they will go to the other part of the forest. Again they will cut down the trees and put fire and do the agricultural work. So that is called the shifting cultivation. Okay, moving from one place to another. Further, the area received low rainfall, and the major rivers mentioned in Rig Veda were known to change their courses frequently. So, why the agriculture was not so important? Maybe this region was receiving very less rainfall. Okay, and even the rivers also they changed their course, like river Yamuna changed its course, isn't it? So like that people they followed the valley and came to Gangetic plains in the later Vedic period. Even river Saraswati also dried up, isn't it? Indus also changed its course. So maybe this is also one reason why agriculture was not so important in Rigvedic time. Next, in the later Vedic period, importance of agriculture grew during this time. Okay, in the later Vedic period. So, the growth of agriculture was made possible by the availability of vast tracts of fertile alluvial lands of Ganga, Yamuna, Dohab, and the Middle Ganga Valley. So, here you can see that when the course of the rivers changed, like river Yamuna's course changed, people they followed the valley and they reached Ganga, Yamuna, Dohab, isn't it? So when they came to that region, they started agriculture. So that's why in later Vedic period you find importance of agriculture. Both archaeological and literary sources depict the introduction of rice as the staple diet of the people. The Rig Vedic text mention Vrihi, Tandula, and Sali denoting rice. So here you can see that now there is the evidence of grains. Okay, both archaeological and literary sources. So, like they tell that rice became the staple food of the later Vedic people. So, they consumed more rice. Whereas in Rigvedic period, you saw only barley was consumed, isn't it? So, here rice it is mentioned with different names, that is Vrihi, Tandula, Sali, all these are names given to the rice. The later Vedic text also refer to oxen yoked to the plough, suggesting the prevalence of plough cultivation. Okay, so here you can see that they started to plough the land with the help of oxen yoked. Whereas in the Rigvedic period, you saw that shifting cultivation was there. They were not ploughing, they were just scattering the seeds and growing the crops. Okay, so here you can see that they are ploughing the land. That means the importance of agriculture is growing here. Okay, growing. So, towards the end of this period, iron plowshares and metal tools were used, and a variety of crops were cultivated. So, by the end of this period, what happened? The iron plows were used, okay, metal tools were used so that they can till the land thoroughly, okay, they can smooth the land. As a result, they started to grow different crops here. Okay, so from barley, in the later Vedic period you can see rice has been cultivated. After that, by the end of this period, they started to grow more variety of crops. Next we'll see craftsmen. So here, when there was a surplus in the agriculture, some of the farmers thought that they will change their occupation because everyone were engaged in agricultural work. As a result, there was surplus food in the agriculture. Okay, so some of the farmers thought of changing their occupations. So as a result, craft started. Okay, so the craftsmen mentioned in the Vedic text include leather work, leather workers called charmakaras, wheelwrights called rathakaras, blacksmiths and potters called kulala, and carpenters taksana. Okay, so all these were craftsmen. However, none of these groups were considered as low status. Okay, so here they were not considered as a low status. Okay, so weaving seems to have been a domestic craft here. Weaving wool obtained from sheep was most common raw material. Cotton is not mentioned here. That means wool they were using. So regarding cotton, it is not mentioned here. Okay, so this is about craft. Next we'll see trade. So during the later Vedic phase, agricultural surpluses led to trade, giving rise to markets from which developed towns and cities. Although the Aryans had introduced coins, barter system was still dominant in trade with other countries. So here barter system means it is exchange of one goods to other goods. Okay. So this barter system, it was still dominant in trade with other countries. Next we'll see occupations here. Besides agriculture and trade, other important occupations included domestication of animals, crafts in various metals, carpentry, pottery, fishery, etc. And women were engaged in spinning, weaving, knitting, and dyeing. So, students, I hope this topic is clear to you. So, go through the module once again and read the chapter. Okay. Thank you.